So what I found myself recently saying is this: if it's worth fighting for, it's a fight worth having. I'm going to repeat that. If it's worth fighting for, it's a fight worth having. And I say that because I think sometimes there is a conversation that suggests that before we decide we're going to engage in a fight, some might say, well, let's sit back and consider the odds of winning. No. If it's worth fighting for, it's a fight worth having. Sometimes people will suggest, oh, before we make that decision, let's sit back and wonder, what are the cost benefits of engaging in that fight? Will I incur any harm? Will it be difficult? Will it require a lot of work? But what National Action Network knows is that's not how we measure what we fight for. That's right. Because we say if it is worth fighting for, it is a fight worth having. And so that's where we are today, outlining then what is worth fighting for. And I will mention then again, in looking at votes still being counted and knowing what is going on in many areas of our country, not only Georgia and Florida, look what happened in North Dakota, when our Native American brothers and sisters were basically excluded from their opportunity and their right to vote because of laws that were put in place to suppress their ability to have their voices represented. So what is worth fighting for? Voting rights. Well, we know in Shelby v. Holder that the United States Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, which members of this organization, including its leader and so many others, fought for. Many died for the Voting Rights Act to be passed. And it's been gutted by the court. So what needs to happen now as we convene here in the United States Congress? Congress needs to act. Congress needs to act, and we need to pass a voting rights amendment. And it's the Voting Rights Advancement Act, so we can restore the full protections of the Voting Rights Act. That is worth fighting for, and it is therefore a fight worth having. Let's look at what we're looking at in terms of elections on another level. Let's speak truth. In case everyone is not clear, Mark Warner and I sit on the Senate Intelligence Committee. He is the co-chairman of that committee. You read the public report. Russia interfered in the election of the presidency of the United States. That is a fact. That is a truth. It is worth fighting for integrity in our election system, which means that they are free from interference by a hostile or an unfriendly nation. So that is why we have a bill in the United States Senate supported by Senator Warner, and actually a bipartisan support. And it's my bill together with James Lankford, the Election Security Act, which says let's put the resources into upgrading the state's elections systems. Because what we know is this: there are a lot of states that are dealing with antiquated machines, right, which are vulnerable to being hacked. And let me remind everybody, part of what we know is the evidence from what happened in 2016 is that the Russians figured out America's vulnerability. They detected, it didn't take long for them to figure out America's Achilles heel and attack on that basis. And what is America's Achilles heel? The issue of race. And it was on that basis, and hate, and it was anti-Semitism, it was homophobia, it was a number of things they attacked, knowing that was what would attract heat in our country and create dissension and discord. So the Elections Security Act is something that is worth fighting for.